I'd like to thank you for joining me on this journey and this exploration of race and ethnicity. Before we get going, I would like to get a disclaimer out of the way that's going to set the tone for everything. I want to state that there's no absolutes, often in social science and often in sociology. So a lot of times things are said and blanket statements are made, and somebody takes them as objective statements when they really shouldn't. For example, if I were to say, Native Americans live on reservations that lack resources, and they've been oppressed a lot, they have it pretty bad. There's no need to point out that, yeah, but I know this Native American who got scholarships and went to college and this and that. Whataboutisms should be prohibited in most of your trains of thought as you explore social science, more importantly, sociology or cultural studies. So whataboutisms, nope. What we are going to do is try to explore this gray area where, yes, those things happen, but we can come to an understanding together of what the general consensus is and what life is like, in particular today for minority groups. So we're going to talk about what a minority is. So like in mathematics, that would imply that a minority is a term for small or smaller. However, minority groups can be quite large. And even though they're a larger part of the population, women could be considered a minority group. So don't think of it as numbers. We're going to talk today about 5 characteristics for minority groups. Minority group members experience a pattern of disadvantage or inequality together. They share visible traits, characteristics that differentiates them from other groups. They're aware of their shared status and other group members. Group membership is determined at birth, and members tend to form intergroup relationships. So think friendships, dating, partnerships, marriage. So we're going to talk about the first one right now. What is inequality? This can be as small of a range to say like there are not enough desks for left-handed people. This is an inequality. Or it can be extreme to different types of things like exploitation, slavery, genocide, all sorts of things, and everything in between, which is kind of where we're at. It affects people's ability to gain jobs, housing, wealth, healthcare, political power. So that's another way of looking at it. The ones with those advantages we define as the dominant group. So number 2, we're talking about visibility. Culturally speaking, this can be language, speech patterns, dress style. So like if culture is the main factor, these are called ethnic groups, and this defines ethnicity. So think Irish Americans, Jewish Americans, these are minority groups. If there are physical characteristics, such as with African Americans or Native Americans, this is a racial minority group. And yes, these can overlap from time to time, race and ethnicity, and they do all the time. So know that they're different, but also know that they can be seen as together. So the third characteristic of minority groups is awareness. They know about the dominant group. They know about their disadvantages. This can provide group solidarity and group bonding. They likely have constructed ideas and theories of where these inequalities come from. This also bonds them together. So number 4, we're looking at ascription or ascribed status, as we call it in sociology. These are given at birth. The characteristics of that status are very hard to change. Not impossible, but like I said, there are no absolutes. They're not impossible to change. So being ascribed a certain status is normally involuntarily. Number 5, what we're looking at is intimate relationships, which we already touched on. The same way we have emotionally close bonds to people like ourselves in some way, this is why we still see remnants of segregation, particularly in urban areas, and laws that most states created to ban interracial marriage made it easier for these groups to intermarry with each other. So we have defined minority group, and we've looked at the 5 main characteristics of a minority group. Let's keep moving forward.